Welcome Dealership Owns and Automotive Group Executives. Look, if you're leading an auto retail organization today, you know firsthand that the noise around dealership software is just deafening, right? You're constantly getting pitched these tools that promise the world, but honestly, they just end up adding yet another login to your team's already busy day. Well, in this explainer, we're stepping into the role of your strategic consultant to cut right through that noise. We're going to look at a fundamentally different approach to dealership operations. Specifically, we'll be analyzing a platform doctrine known as Keystone. So get ready, because we're going to completely rethink how work actually gets done out there on the showroom floor.
Okay, let's dive into this. Our roadmap today covers 6 key areas: the daily execution gap, operational progression, visibility and consistency, the architecture of trust, turning behavior into structure, and finally, building a human-centric system. Let's get to it. So here is the million-dollar question, the one that keeps general managers and group owners up at night. Why is it that an OEM can roll out a perfectly designed brand standard or certification program, but the actual day-to-day execution on your dealership floor looks completely different? This right here is the fundamental disconnect between top-down brand initiatives and the chaotic, fast-paced reality of daily store operations. Which brings us to our first section, the daily execution gap, and how we actually bridge brand standards with dealership reality. If we really want to understand why execution fails, we have to look at how we're equipping our teams. Right now, training and onboarding are, without a doubt, the clearest pain points. New hires need direction, managers need visibility, and GMs need confidence. Now, what's really interesting about this comparison is the stark contrast between the old way of doing things and the Keystone doctrine. The old way of dealership software? It's built almost entirely on extraction. Data is trapped in this surveillance layer that's ultimately owned by the vendor. But the Keystone doctrine advocates for a radical shift to stewardship. We're talking about structured support, user-owned context, and a living ecosystem that actually helps the individual perform better. Moving on to Section 2. Operational progression explained. This is really the core engine of dealership development. To actually fix that execution gap we just talked about, we need what's called a human operational progression platform. And listen, this isn't just some fancy corporate buzzword for a learning management system. We absolutely have to stop viewing platforms as these passive databases where you just dump a bunch of training videos and hope for the best. Instead, think of it as active infrastructure. It directly connects onboarding to coaching. And crucially, it answers the most important question in any dealership: what needs to happen next, and who owns that action? Now, this active infrastructure creates a very specific journey. It all starts with a verified invite. But I want you to focus on Step 4, carry career value forward. This introduces the concept of portable identity. In automotive retail, we know people move around, right? Salespeople jump between rooftops, managers shift across groups. Well, under this model, users actually retain their growth history, their toolbox artifacts, and all their verified progress, even if they transition to a completely different store. They build, maintain, and carry career value over time that they actually own. It's a real game changer. That zooms us out to Section 3, visibility and group consistency. Let's look at the owner's perspective across multiple rooftops.
If you're a multi-store owner or group executive tuning into this explainer, you know your biggest challenge is protecting your operating culture at scale and strengthening accountability across different local markets. How do you actually get consistency without micromanaging every single showroom? Well, the crucial point here is that true leadership-ready visibility isn't about spying on your employees. It's about seeing operational friction. As an owner, you can instantly see exactly where onboarding is getting stuck, which rookies are stalling out, or where your managers might need a little extra support. It takes scattered people development and turns it into a measurable, highly repeatable practice.
Of course, to make that visibility work, the system really has to balance some competing needs, which brings us to the ownership principle. It's kind of like a 3-part puzzle. First, the user owns their personal context and career value. Second, the individual dealership owns its local operating context. And third, the ownership group owns the cross-rooftop visibility. By strictly distributing these boundaries, the platform gives each level exactly the minimum useful context required to improve the work. It completely cuts out the unnecessary noise and protects local autonomy. Let's transition to Section 4, the architecture of trust, and how we build privacy right into the foundation. If you've been in this industry long enough, you know the drill. A system designed around extraction will inevitably behave exploitatively. It's going to mine your people for metrics. So, we need a fundamentally different foundation to build lasting trust between the platform and the users. It's absolutely crucial to understand this. Privacy here is structural. Trust cannot just be slapped on as a marketing slogan at the end, it has to be baked into the architecture from day one. For an executive team, avoiding exploitative data economics is a massive strategic advantage. By structurally separating private human context from system-level operating signals, you create an environment where your employees actually want to engage with the tool because they aren't afraid it's going to be used against them.
Let's move to the next concept and see how this builds. The mechanism making all this possible is called the governed continuity layer. It relies on things like scoped identities, bounded contexts, and strict rule-based authority. And because this back-end governance is so tight and so disciplined, the actual user experience out on the floor feels incredibly personal, continuous, and remarkably simple. The system remembers the right things, and more importantly, it respects the right boundaries.
Next up, Section 5, Turning Behavior into Structure. We'll look at the simplicity rule and the flywheel effect.
This is where the long-term ROI of this entire doctrine really shines. We are introducing the vision of building an intelligent, human-centric system that fundamentally grows simpler and faster the more it's used. Instead of forcing rigid processes on your team from day one, the system actually observes real successful behavior on your dealership floor. When it identifies a pattern that works, say a fantastic coaching conversation or a flawless onboarding week, it converts that repeated value into a reliable, reusable structure. It's literally learning from your best people and scaling their success.
And this brilliantly illustrates how that transformation happens in practice. Notice how common onboarding steps automatically become repeatable flows. Those recurring prompts that a really good manager uses, they evolve into structured coaching paths. Proven word tracks become permanent artifacts in a salesperson's toolbox. The daily, chaotic brilliance of your top performers is actively transformed into permanent, group-wide operating templates and reusable skills.
Finally, we arrive at Section 6, a human-centric system, and improving the quality of life inside work.
We've talked a lot today about architecture, group visibility, and operating templates. But honestly, this entire doctrine is summed up perfectly by this one quote: "Build systems that help people work better without forcing the company to own the person." It's such a powerful idea. The best technology doesn't micromanage your staff. The best technology empowers the individual to build their own career value, while simultaneously giving leadership the clear, actionable intelligence they need to make great decisions.
So I want to leave you with this final provocative question. Take a hard look at your current tech stack. Is your system simply extracting data from your people to create compliance reports? Or is it actively helping them build lasting career value while giving you unprecedented operational clarity? It might just be time to rethink the baseline of your operations and adopt a stewardship model that truly transforms chaos into clarity. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.